Another legal issue that Man City have been involved in is with Benjamin Mendy. He's claiming £11.5 million in unpaid wages. What do you think the likely outcome is on that? Will he receive all that money?
It's very hard to say. So City, I think the position seems to be that City stopped paying him once he was on bail. He actually went to prison. He was on remand for a bit, so obviously he wasn't able to train, but then ultimately was found not guilty. So it's quite complex, but it's very hard because we only got one article that sort of describes it. You would have thought that if City didn't want to pay him, they needed to call for a breach of contract and actually formally dismiss him. But it doesn't look like they did that. It looks like they kept him on all the way through to the end of his contract, but didn't pay him, which is a bit weird. It was only a 2-day hearing, so I suspect that it turns, on the submission of the barristers, and it's very hard to say whether he'll win or not. I mean, it's quite hard because you would have thought something like this they would have settled. But clearly City think they're right to not pay. A lot of money at stake. I mean, one of the interesting things about the hearing is you found out what Mendy was paid and how his wage broke down. Something like, from memory, something like 120 grand a week basic, £1 million a year bonus if City qualified for the Champions League, another £1 million if he played 60% of the games, and a £1.2 million image rights deal. So he's paid, that's about 10 million quid a year, I think it was, from memory. So a lot. Yeah, a lot of money at stake. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say whether City will win, but it'll be an interesting, definitely an interesting judgment to read if it doesn't get settled. These things can settle after the hearing, and that is the other. So if both or one of the parties doesn't want all of that information to come out into the public domain in a very detailed hearing, the decision, they can have the negotiation now. Effectively settle it, and then you'll never see the decision. But it looks like we're going to see the judgment at some point. And from what we can gather from the press, I think they said it was going to be quite quick, so maybe 2 to 4 weeks. So we'll see. All the details will be quite juicy stuff if you're interested in what players are paid, and the kind of communication between a player who feels that he's been wronged and a football club. That's going to be quite interesting, just from the factual side as opposed to the legal analysis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Benjamin Mendy is claiming £11.5 million in unpaid wages. What's the likely outcome of that?
Well, that's an interesting employment law situation because he was found innocent, and it's a difficult one. I've got to take some expert advice from some employment lawyers about this, and I will do that. But the difficult thing is, it's when you frustrate the contract by not being able to fulfil your obligations, by being able to train and being able to play. And so there would have been a period of time when that was the case when he was in court, but there had been a lot of time before that. Man City may have jumped too early in terms of terminating his contract because, as we know, in the end he was found guilty. Not guilty. Let me make that clear. Not guilty. And so there is definitely a case to answer. I think there'll be a settlement. I think it could be somewhere along the lines of 50% of what he's claiming. That would be my guess. With a caveat, of course, I'm not a lawyer or a judge and don't know the information in detail, but that would be my gut feeling, is there'll be a settlement of some description around this from what I can see about the case.